Katie Allen with K-State Research and Extension News, and I'm at the Women Managing the Farm Conference with Letourneau from the Kansas Department of Agriculture. And you spoke on water rights and the 50-year water vision for Kansas. Of all the challenges that agriculture faces, water's one that comes up time and time again. So I thought we'd get you to maybe talk about water rights to begin with. And you talked about some of those fundamental attributes that people need to know about water rights. Can you speak on those just a little bit about what people need to know?
Oh, sure, Katie, I'd be glad to. Water rights in Kansas, you have to have a water right permit or an appropriation of water to use water for our beneficial uses: irrigation, municipal, industrial. We have about 31,000 water rights in Kansas. The attributes of those water rights: you've got to have your rate, quantity, you've got to have a place of use, point of diversion, use made of water, and the priority date. All of those attributes can be changed except for the priority date.
The concern of the Ogallala depletion, is what we hear about a lot in terms of the 50-year water vision. Can you talk about how the Ogallala, it stretches out so much of western Kansas, but there are areas where depletion is more of a concern than others, and there's some variability. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm glad to. The Ogallala is very important to the entire state of Kansas just because water and the economy are linked. Now, the Ogallala is about in the western 1/3 of the state. We've got a pretty big footprint. It stretches, from north to south, but the variability in the very southern edge of Kansas, there's probably about 100 years of water left. We're mining the Ogallala. It's got very little recharge. The use, I think we only recharge about 9% of what we use, so we're mining 93% of what's there. Now, in the northwest part of the state, we've got 25 areas with 25 years out to 50 years. In the central part of the Ogallala around Scott City, they're significantly dewatered, and a lot of their wells are already less than 400 gallons a minute. Now, as you move down closer to Garden City, the folks down there are running out of water also. We're seeing big declines in those rates. So there's ways that we can deal with that decline. We can do, because Kansas is a strict water rights administration, first in time, first in right. If wells or water rights are impairing one another, we can curtail pumping on a junior water right, but that's a very harsh environment. We've got other tools involved. The newest one on the books is called a local enhanced management area. So if some locals want to do some management, they can put together their own corrective controls, kind of create themselves a softer landing, like using 5-year allocations, take a 20% reduction in things. So there's tools in place. We do have one of these local enhanced management areas, Alima, in northwest Kansas near Hoxie. Those individuals out there decided to take a 20% reduction in actual water use over 5 years. That 20% reduction added 25 years of life to their aquifer. So these tools are out there that we can help slow the decline and create a softer landing for people.
And when we talk about water usage with the Ogallala, irrigated crop production immediately comes to mind, and livestock production, but there are other economic needs out in western Kansas as well, and it affects more than just the farmers and ranchers out there. Can you talk on that a little bit?
I can talk about that, yes. The Ogallala, probably over 90% of the Ogallala is used for irrigation, and probably about maybe 5% of it's used for municipalities, and then stock watering and industrial. I'm thinking of the ethanol plants. Those probably use about 2% of the Ogallala out there. The corn folks, they sell their product to the feedlots, but then the corn production out there accounts for about $1.75 billion. The beef production out there is $2 billion. So yes, I mean, it's a very important economic driver out there.
So urban people should be paying attention to this as well.
Yes, the cities out there, they are paying attention. They buy an irrigation water right. When one becomes available for sale, they'll leave it there until they need it. So they're getting some conservation by not using that. But then the state statutes allow a city to change that irrigation right to a municipal right. Industries, dairies, feedlots, they're all doing the same thing. So they're taking that irrigation water and moving it to a higher valued use.
And Governor Brownback proposed this 50-year water vision a few months ago. How is the development of that coming? And can you talk about just kind of the evolution of that process?
Yeah, great question. The governor understands that water and the economy of Kansas are directly linked. So he's given the Department of Agriculture and the Kansas Water Office the directive to go out and put together a 50-year vision for our water. He told us to focus on the reservoirs in the eastern part of the state and the Ogallala Aquifer in the western part of the state. We've probably had about 60 to 70 meetings to date. We've probably met with about 3,000 people, and we're saying, that we want, the best solutions come from the locals. So we're asking people, what do you want your part of the state to look like and your water resource to look like in 50 years? So we're getting a lot of positive feedback from the people we're meeting with, the ethanol industry, cities, irrigators, and so right now we're just at the stakeholder meeting part, and we've got many more meetings to do, and then we'll put together a plan, and then we'll have more public meetings to deliver the message and get more input.
How would you recommend someone from the public just interested in attending one of these meetings or learning more information, how would they go about doing that?
This information is on the Kansas Water Office website, kwo.org. And then you'll see a tab where it says Kansas 50-year vision. And so in there's contact information, there's the schedule of the meetings, but that's updated on a weekly, if not daily basis, because folks are coming to us wanting us to come out and talk. So look at the Water Office website. We want everybody's input.
Would you think that this vision is strongly focused, more so focused on agriculture, or will there be a domestic component as well?
There will be a domestic component as well as and municipal and industrial, because if we don't do anything and we keep it status quo, the Ogallala will be 70% depleted in 50 years, and then our reservoirs will be filled with silt another 40%. And so, yes, domestic is very important because it's also a water right like any other water right, and you got to have domestic water to live there.
That's great information from Lane Letourneau from the Kansas Department of Agriculture, talking about Kansas' 50-year water vision and water rights. I'm Katie Allen with K-State Research and Extension News.